Welcome back to High School Backups Podcast, to a little segment we are going to call College Football Mondays and or College Football Playoff Reactions. So, clearly, we are recording this on Sunday. It'll be uploaded on Monday, and we are reacting to what happened in the college football world yesterday and how it is going to affect the college football playoff landscape moving forward. The new AP Top 25 poll was released, and we've obviously got a new number one. Georgia beat Tennessee, which we'll talk about later. Ohio State and Michigan, respectively, at 2 and 3. TCU at number 4. Tennessee drops to number 5. Oregon, number 6. Then it goes LSU, USC, UCLA, and Bama rounding out the top 10. We're going to start with Tennessee falls to Georgia. I don't know about you, Kyle. I watched the entire game. Georgia looked better.
Georgia has looked like the better team all year long. Like, I understand why they put Tennessee as one last week. I disagreed with it, but Georgia proved yesterday why they are the best college football team in the country right now. And I don't even really think it's close. Like, I think they are the top favorite to win the NCAA title this year, and they proved it yesterday.
Listen, man, I'm with you. They absolutely looked like the number one team in the country, and they have beaten everybody who's in their path by a large margin. I actually thought this game was going to be closer. I was really hoping Tennessee was going to win it. Again, I'm adamant about the fact that I really don't want to see Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson in the playoff. We'll get to Clemson and Alabama later. I'm very excited. We'll also get to Ohio State later, who had a close one with Northwestern. But my initial reaction to this Tennessee-Georgia game is that this was the first time that Tennessee had expectations, and the hallmark of great teams is meeting expectations. They didn't do it. I still think there's a shot that they can get into the college football playoff, but they're going to have to play their way in at this point. They're not getting to the SEC championship game. It's a long shot for them. I don't think their odds are out. I don't think they're out. I think it's just they're going to have pieces fall the right way. At this point, they're on the outside looking in. They're the new number 5. So
it's going to be tough for them only because they have teams right around where they are who are continuing to do better. TCU has looked really good. Oregon has looked really good. And if Tennessee even struggles even slightly, they're going to find themselves on the outside, not looking in at all. So it's going to be borderline close for them. They just need to continue winning. They need to just put this loss behind them, put it behind them quickly, and hopefully they can sneak back into the playoff.
I do need to talk about this Georgia defense. This Tennessee offense coming into the game was averaging over 500 yards and averaging 49.4 points per game coming in. They held them to under 300 yards and 13 points. With the amount of talent that Georgia lost on defense last year, I genuinely did not think this defense was going to be that good. And they have looked every bit as good as they did last year, and their offense looks 10 times better. Stetson Bennett looked really good. He didn't play his best game against Tennessee, I don't think, but he's looked really good. Their running game is good. They have decent receivers. Their offensive line is always good. This Georgia defense has looked suffocating at times. They weren't letting Tennessee wide receivers who have been great all year, including Justin Hyatt, who had 14 TDs coming in, zero space. It was absolutely ridiculous. And
it was insane. It was fun to watch them play. It honestly was.
Oh, no, absolutely fun to watch them play. Their corners shut down everything that Tennessee was trying to do. Their run defense looked good. And, I mean, their defensive backfield looked absolutely ridiculous. Kiki Ringo absolutely shut down Justin Hyatt, which I didn't think he was going to be able to do. I'm not going to lie to you. I genuinely was like, oh, okay, Justin Hyatt is going to have a good game. I genuinely just assumed that Justin Hyatt was going to have a good football game, and he did not live up to that standard. He just didn't.
Right.
Gonna move on to... Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
No, I was just agreeing with you. You're good. Keep it moving.
We're going to move on to another SEC duel, another top 10 SEC duel in Bama and LSU. Brian Kelly might be onto something in Louisiana.
They look so good.
They had a
They
rough
look
start to the
so
year. If
good.
they were playing like this at the beginning of the year, they might be in this. They might be in the top 5. This is absolutely ridiculous. Again, Bryce Young. What can you even do when your receivers don't create? Again, another game I watched from start to finish. Why the Alabama wide receivers don't look good. Their defense doesn't look like they can stop running and mobile quarterbacks. Hendon Hooker hung 52 on him. Jaden Daniels hung 32 on him. I am trying my absolute best to understand what's going on in Alabama, and they just don't look like they have it this year. I mean, it's probably just one of their 2 lost seasons that happens. They'll reconfigure, retool, and come back. I don't think that this is the fall of Alabama at all, but not their year. Bryce Young is the
I love it.
Bryce Young and Will Anderson are the 2 bright spots in the entire team, and that is about it. You can point to Henry To'oTo'o being really good too, but that's about it. That's really it. I like Jahmyr Gibbs. He's an NFL prospect at running back. Outside of that, I got nothing.
I love this new atmosphere that is existing in college football right now, where the top players just aren't going to Alabama. They're being spread out across the country, and you actually can see where the talent is and how it's spread out now. And I think that's amazing. That this is proving why we need an extended college football playoff and not just the top 4, because the talent is just so spread evenly across a bunch of different programs now.
I'm so ready for them to extend the college football playoff. I'm so ready.
Bring it on already, NCAA. Like, I know you guys want to wait, but just bring it in for next year, honestly.
Listen, if they want Alabama to be in the college football playoff so bad, I will not disagree to them putting in 12 teams this year. I will not disagree to it. Do it. I don't care. Create chaos. All the chaos. I want it. I want all of the chaos. Do it.
I would love it. It would be so much fun.
And that's really my entire reaction, except for the fact that Brian Kelly really has LSU playing at a whole nother level right now. I don't think they have college football playoff aspirations with 2 losses. There's an outside shot they get into the SEC title game and maybe make a push. I doubt it, but there's a shot. They would have to win the SEC title with 2 losses, I think. But, I mean, hey, they got as good a shot at anybody now after beating Bama. They have as good a shot as anybody else.
I agree. I think they're one of those teams that with Tennessee that are just so close that they have to win in order to really even make it.
And I mean, that's really all I have to say about Bama and LSU. We can talk about the college football playoff like scenarios after we're done recapping all this stuff. Another big team, Ohio State, who's ranked at number 2. I thought they might slip a little bit. They struggled with Northwestern. I know the conditions weren't wonderful. It was like 40-mile-an-hour winds. But I thought Ohio State would still clear them handily, and they really didn't. The game was close until the 4th quarter where Ohio State scored a couple of touchdowns. It ended up being 21-7. If you're Ohio State, this is one of those games where you look on and go, we just have to be better. Obviously, it's not a blemish because they didn't lose, but I don't if that's the way you're going to play against Michigan, Michigan's going to steamroll you. And I don't think that's the Ohio State we're going to see against Michigan. I believe they play Michigan this week, don't they? Next week?
I think it's 1 week away.
They play them very, very soon. Let me go look. No, Michigan plays Nebraska next week. And then oh no, they don't play for a while. They play in 3 weeks on November 26th. So we got 20 days until Michigan, Ohio State, and assuming both teams run the table like we think they're going to, that is going to be literally that's going to be a game that gets either of them into the college football playoff. That's it.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if Illinois is going to give Michigan a little bit of trouble, and not in a couple weeks when they play.
I mean, I think they could, but I also could see that game being Michigan just running through Illinois like nobody's business. I mean, I could see that happening too. Illinois is good, don't get me wrong. I just think that's 2 similar football teams where Michigan is the better of the similar football teams.
That's fair.
Both teams like to run the ball. Both teams play really solid defense. I don't see Illinois beating Michigan at their own game. I just really don't. Again, you could. With all the stuff that's going on in college football, absolutely it could happen. I just don't think it does.
That's fair.
And as expected, Oregon destroys Colorado. I'm not going to recap this, but Oregon, since losing to Georgia, like we mentioned last week, has looked absolutely ridiculous. This is looking like a college football playoff team. If they win the Pac-12, I think they get in. I don't think you can put Tennessee in over them without having a SEC title. I don't think you can put Michigan or Ohio State over them without having an SEC title. I think Oregon can get in. They just have to have things fall the right way, and they have to win. They can't lose again. That's really it.
The only I think they need to beat Utah. If they don't beat Utah, I don't think you can even consider them.
So Oregon plays Utah in 2 weeks anyway.
2 weeks.
So they do have a rough schedule moving forward. They have 24 Washington and 13 Utah. Again, I think they get through that. They're going to beat Utah. Again, they can't lose again. They have to win out. But with the way they're playing, nothing tells me that they won't. They just hung 49. They beat Colorado 49-10. They beat Colorado 42-24. They handled UCLA by 15. They've done what they've needed to do outside of that Georgia game where they got absolutely slapped. And I mean absolutely slapped.
They did.
And that's really all I have to say about Oregon. They do have to beat Utah. They have to get through it, and they have to win the Pac-12 title game. They have to win out, but I think they can do it, and if they do it, they'll be in the college football playoff.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's so tough. We have to see how Tennessee does. That's the thing. If Tennessee does well, continues to do well, ignores this past game against Georgia, continues to do well, I see them being over Oregon. Only because Tennessee had a harder schedule, a harder way to get here.
Yeah, but if you're telling me that one has a Pac-12 title and they both lost to the same team and the other one doesn't have a conference title, I may very well put in Oregon over them because of the fact that the College Football Playoff Committee is supposed to take stuff like that into account.
That's fair.
Me personally, Tennessee beats Oregon right now if I put them together, like head to head. I genuinely think that. But if I'm the College Football Playoff Committee and I have to look non-biased towards the SEC and Oregon has a Pac-12 title and Tennessee doesn't have an SEC title, I have to put in Oregon.
That's fair. No, that's a fair point.
Like, your analysis is correct in the fact that Tennessee is better. I believe that you're correct. But looking at it from the College Football Playoff Committee standpoint, I think they would be forced to put Oregon in at that point. Which again reinforces the fact that we need an expanded college football playoff.
Come on, NCAA. Step up your game.
Do it right now. Just do it right now. I don't care. Moving into Texas beating Kansas State. Again, with Quinn Ewers, Texas is one of the better teams in the country. I don't think that's incorrect. They almost beat Alabama with Quinn Ewers. They handled Kansas State, who beat Oklahoma State 40-8 a week prior. Texas, when Quinn Ewers is playing, is very, very good. When he is not playing, they are not very, very good. That is really all I have to say about it.
There really isn't any more to say about it. I'm not as high on Texas this year as you are.
I think Texas is back as long as Quinn Ewers is playing football.
Yeah, but you need to be back. You can't say they're back just solely based on one player.
I mean, I can, because when he plays, they look unbeatable.
Okay, but they also need to look somewhat unbeatable without him.
Well, Arch Manning is coming next year, so they'll have a viable backup. Hudson Card is not it. Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning is going to be the best 1-2 quarterback combo in the entire country.
Touche.
Arch Manning is coming to save the day. Don't worry. Let's move on to my favorite story of the week, is that Notre Dame absolutely handled Clemson. 35-14. I love it. I'm absolutely ecstatic. I don't have to see Bama or Clemson in the college football playoff.
It's amazing. I've been waiting for this day for years to be able to not see Alabama or Clemson in the college playoff. Like, this is amazing.
It's an absolute miracle. I love it. That's really all I have to say about it. I mean, DJ is not that guy. Notre Dame isn't particularly great this year, and they just handled Clemson like nobody's business. I don't think Clemson was particularly great. They hadn't played anybody, and they played a school that really isn't a top 25 program in the country right now, at least of this year. Notre Dame all time obviously is, but right now not so much. And they got handled. They got slapped. Like there's no other analysis to have. They got absolutely manhandled by a team that isn't that good.
Clemson hasn't been that good all year long. Like they haven't played anyone really spectacular as like throughout their season. So it's just odd to really see why they're being put so high up when
They were being put so high up because they were initially ranked high, and because they hadn't lost, there was no reason to drop them. But now that they've lost, I could justifiably put them at like 18, and nobody could question it. I could justifiably put them in the bottom half of the top 25. Which I don't think the AP poll did. Actually, hold on, where are they? No, they're 12. Yeah, I justifiably could put them below, Utah, UNC, Tulane. I could justifiably do that.
All right, you go be the AP poll next time, Jake. I want to see.
I would love that. I would love to have total control of the top 25 rankings. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it would be chaos, and I would love it.
I would love to see this chaos. I would put terrible teams in the top 4 just to mess with the country. I would put like UCF, Liberty, Ole Miss, and like Tulane as the top 4. I don't care that Georgia's the best in the country. They don't make it.
At least I'd be reasonable about it. Like Georgia would be in the top. Like TCU might be number 2, but hey. No, TCU hasn't really played anybody either. When they play Texas in a couple weeks, or has TCU already played Texas? I don't think so. I think they play Texas next week. So. No, they play Texas next week. That's going to be a real big stamp on their entire season. Again, if Texas beats TCU, does that revive their college football playoff hopes? Not really, but it would be a fun thing to see.
If Texas beats TCU, I definitely think that makes me understand your point and what you're saying about them being a top team and that Texas is back. I don't think Texas loses, though. If TCU has played decent teams this year, and they've looked pretty good doing it, so I don't really see any reason why TCU would lose against Texas.
What decent team besides Kansas State and Oklahoma State have they played?
Well, those are the 2 I meant. Like, they played 2 decent teams.
Like, I mean, I know Oklahoma State was ranked at the time of this game, but they haven't looked good recently, and they got blown out 48-0 by Kansas State. Kansas State just lost to Texas by more than what TCU beat them by, I think.
Kansas was also ranked at the time they played them.
Yeah, but Kansas has proved not to be that great either.
No, but if you can still be another ranked team, you can still prove it. Like they're ranked for a reason. Besides that, they beat Kansas State and they beat Oklahoma State. Those 2 wins alone, I think, solidify why TCU is where TCU is.
I'm fine with them ranked 4. That's not what I'm arguing here. I just genuinely they haven't played anybody, and I think a win over Texas would help solidify in my mind that they're actually really good. Mm-hmm. I'm going to bar that with as long as Quinn Ewers doesn't get hurt. If Quinn Ewers gets hurt, that's a different story.
That's fair. He shouldn't get hurt, though, if he's the reason Texas is winning, right, Jake?
That's not necessarily true because players get hurt all the time, dog.
Yes, but he's already been hurt this year.
So okay, we are way off topic because we were talking about Notre Dame and Clemson, and now we're talking about TCU.
That just shows that it doesn't matter about Clemson and Notre Dame.
Yeah, Clemson's irrelevant. Who cares? Clemson's irrelevant.
Next.
Next, we're going to go with Colin Cowherd's favorite game of the weekend, Michigan destroying Rutgers. You know, Rutgers is such a quality team, and no one wants to play them at home, right, Kyle?
When I read that, I was like, Colin, what drugs are you on this morning? Like, come on, Rutgers is Rutgers. They're Rutgers, Colin. Come on.
Yo,
they haven't been a viable
team. No Rutgers slander on the channel. Come on, man.
I am slandering Rutgers right now. Come on. When was the last time Rutgers did anything football related?
I mean, they gave us the McCourty twins.
Okay, yes. Producing great players is besides the point. Win the damn game. Come on.
I'm going to leave it at that. Michigan's ranked number 3. They did what they were supposed to do. That's all I got to say about it.
Yes, but come on.
USC barely escaped Cal over the weekend. USC is ranked number 8. I think they have to win out to make the college football playoff. I think all of these Pac-12 teams here, including Utah, who I think has an outside shot. I don't think they I don't think they really have a shot. They'd have to have a lot of pieces fall into place. UCLA, USC, and Oregon, though, all have a decent shot at making the college football playoff here. And USC handled Cal. I mean, they escaped. They won. It's not a blemish, but Cal isn't necessarily great. You should beat them by more. I'm pretty sure that game was a one-score game, 41-35. They've had a lot of those games. They lost to Utah 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago now, by one point. Not a bad loss to have on your resume, but not a good one either. Should have won that game. They have UCLA coming up, and they have Notre Dame at the end of the year. If they win out, go to the Pac-12 conference game against Oregon and win, I think they make the college football playoff. But, again, it's going to be one of those close calls and depend on what happens above them.
It's definitely going to be a borderline team. I'm very interested to see that game versus UCLA in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
That would really be like the all-tale sign here on what USC is as a program. That loss against Utah, although not like the worst loss in the world, I don't think looks great.
I'm with you. I think they should win the game.
They definitely should have won the game. I'm very excited for the UCLA game in a couple weeks, but I'm with you. They need to win out and really work to make noise at the top of the list. Even if they win out, though, I don't see anyone above them realistically losing for the USC to take their place.
I mean, I'm looking at
the only one would be Oregon. That would really be the one I'm looking at.
I mean, I'm looking at the college football playoff rankings again, and you have to assume that either Michigan or Ohio State don't have a Big Ten title because they play each other in a couple weeks. One of them won't have one.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee most likely doesn't have an SEC title. LSU most likely doesn't have an SEC title. I think it's going to be Georgia. At what I've seen, it's going to be Georgia. So if USC runs the table, beats UCLA, beats Notre Dame, and then beats Oregon, I'm assuming it's going to be Oregon, in the Pac-12 title game, I don't see how you can keep them out after they beat 3 ranked opponents over the course of 3 weeks. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Oregon, where if they run the table and they meet UCLA or USC in the Pac-12 title game and win, I don't see how you can keep them out, because you also got Utah in there. So at the very least, you're gonna have two top 10 teams probably playing in the Pac-12 championship game. And so
that's fair.
If UCLA runs the table, I don't think there's any way you can keep them out with a Pac-12 title on the resume. That's really my thought process there.
No, that's a very fair point.
I mean, that's really, again, all I've got to say about that. They narrowly escaped a game they should have won. And moving more towards Pac-12 games, you had UCLA handling business with Arizona State. They won handedly, not a surprise. UCLA is another one of those interesting teams where if they win out, they absolutely, again, they'd have to either meet USC. Well, no, they play USC in 2 weeks and end up being Oregon, again, assuming Oregon runs the table. And they'd have to meet Oregon in the Pac-12 title game. They'd have to beat them after losing to them a couple weeks ago. Another outside shot team with a Pac-12 title on their resume, I don't think you can keep them out, especially if they run the table. And again, all of this is assuming that all of these teams run the table like they should.
It'll be very interesting. You know, did you ever envision a world where we would have 3 Pac-12 teams in the top 10?
And mind you, 4 in the top 13? No, not really.
Even coming into this year, I didn't think this would happen.
So I thought both USC and UCLA were going to take another year to take a leap. Chip Kelly is the head coach at UCLA. I love Chip Kelly. He's a UNH guy. Incredibly smart, great college head coach. I thought it was going to be next year. I really did. When I saw the start of his recruiting come back to UCLA, and essentially it came back and they grew and the potential could be maximized. With USC, Lincoln Riley's obviously a great head coach. He brought Caleb Williams with him. They got Jordan Addison. I thought they were going to be good this year. I didn't know they were going to be pushing for college football playoff hope this year. Oregon, I did see being this good. I watched their spring game. Bo Nix looked really good. When they came out and lost to Georgia 49-3, I went, okay, scrap that. They've proven it over the last 8 weeks that they're a very good football team and deserve to be here. And again, you're giving them a pass for that loss to Georgia. You'd have to be giving them a pass for that. But I think it's an excusable pass, given what we just saw with Tennessee, given what we've seen Georgia do. But again,
Georgia is unstoppable, so I do think Oregon
I don't think
does
that's
deserve
true.
a pass.
I don't think that's true.
Who's going to beat them?
I think Michigan has the best shot at beating Georgia. I think they stack up the best against Georgia.
Okay. I mean, sure. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen.
My thought process there is that Michigan has probably one of the better running games of any of these top 5 teams, or any team that is going to make the college football playoff besides maybe Georgia. Their defense is very similar to Georgia, where they're suffocating, they'll get in your face, they'll stop the run, they'll play grid coverage. All J.J. McCarthy would have to do in that game is, 1, not turn the ball over, and 2, do what he's been doing all year and complete passes at a high percentage, and that offense is going to be fine. So, again, I mean, do I think Michigan beats Georgia right now? Probably not. But I think they have the best chance. Ohio State could be sneaky, but that's, again, one of those teams like Tennessee where all of their guys have 3 yards of separation, and I don't see Georgia allowing that to happen. I don't think TCU is a threat to Georgia.
No, they're not. I honestly don't know if Ohio State can really compete with Georgia, to be honest. Like, I think Ohio State can maybe give them a small little run for their money in the first half, but I don't see Kirby Smart really allowing them to do much anyway. So
with the way that this weekend came out, we haven't gotten the new college football playoff rankings yet, but we got the new AP Top 25 poll. Obviously, the AP Top 25 and the college football playoff rankings last week were very different. But let's talk about college football playoff scenarios. And after last week, I'm going to go with the way I see it shaping out, and then you give me the way that you see it shaping out, and then we'll be done with the episode. We'll be set. But the way I see this shaping out, I think Georgia's going to run the table. I think they get an SEC title no matter whether they play Bama or LSU in that title game. So Georgia's going to be number 1. I'm going to go with Michigan beating Ohio State again because I think Michigan's style of play will inhibit Ohio State from doing what they want to do. On the back end, I don't see TCU losing. Again, I think Texas could beat them, but barring the fact that Texas doesn't beat them. Actually, let's go nuts. Texas beats TCU. They're out. You got 1-2 Michigan, Georgia. I'm going to go with Oregon running the table. So you got Oregon at 3, I think. We're going to go Oregon runs the table. At that point, I got to see who Tennessee has left. Tennessee has Missouri, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. If they don't lose, and that is that, you've got Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, Tennessee is the top 4. I think that's a great college football playoff. I think Tennessee plays Georgia better the second time. I think that would be my ideal situation as it stands right now. If you want to swap it, say TCU runs the table, then you've got Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and Oregon, which I also think is great. I think that would be a great storyline where I think Oregon plays Georgia better the second time around. I'm loving the way the college football playoff is shaping out.
I agree, and I almost entirely agree with what you think is going to happen. I honestly just am not as high on Oregon as you are, and I think it's going to be either USC or UCLA. It all depends on what that game is in a couple weeks for me, whether it's USC or UCLA winning. But if they win out, I do think they're the ones winning the Pac-12 title and sneaking into that spot.
I'm good with that. So you don't think Ohio State beats Michigan?
No, I don't think. I think Michigan beats Ohio State. I think Georgia runs the table. I think if honest, so it would be Georgia is one running the table. Michigan beating Ohio State to be two. I think either USC or UCLA will run the table and win the Pac-12 title over Oregon to claim that third spot. And then that fourth spot is honestly just going to be if TCU can beat Texas and continue going, or if Tennessee can continue where they're at.
I don't think Tennessee's going to have a problem winning out the rest of the year. I think their entire hope hinges on Texas beating TCU. I'm not even going to lie to you.
Yes, I agree. Yep. I agree.
All right, guys, that is going to conclude the episode. If you liked what you heard, click that like button, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Go follow us on at High School Backups on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We really love doing this content for you. Let us know what you thought about our thoughts on the college football playoff and college football in general. Hope to see you soon. Peace.